Because of the length of this video, I'm adding timestamps in the description that will take you to each of the individual section slash pages of this guide. I didn't originally intend for this video to be this long. I sort of just started recording and all of a sudden 50 minutes had gone by. A lot of this is because I tried to go as in-depth as possible for every rune page and mastery, kind of explaining my thought process and decisions. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy, and don't forget to leave a like if you enjoy the video. It really helps me out. Thanks. Hey guys, so I'm going to be doing a comprehensive rune page and mastery page guide for Singed for Season 7. Um, just a little bit of background information about me. My name is MinishCap1. I've been playing League since March of 2010, so pre-season 1, and I have been playing nothing but Singed since the end of season 2. So basically from season 3 all the way up until now, I've done nothing but play Singed in League of Legends. Well, I've played only Singed in League of Legends from season 3 up until now. I've done other stuff like in life obviously, but yeah, yeah, you get the idea. I got a challenger playing Singed, and the rune pages and mastery pages that I want to present are the ones that I found over a lot of playtesting to be the most effective for me. And those are the ones that I obviously think are going to be the best on Singed, so I'm going to be sharing them in this video. I'm going to be going through the breakdown of my thoughts of them, the logic of why I choose them in certain situations, etc., etc. So I guess we can just hop right into it. So runes for Singed, I have 9 total rune pages that I have picked out that I think are going to be um the best rune pages for Singed. Like there's other things that you can do on rune pages that I haven't done necessarily. And I'll cover a little bit of that later, but there's other things that you can do with Singed rune pages that I haven't done, which can still be good. It's just not what I run personally because I never had success with stuff outside of these 9 rune pages. Or I never had serious success with things outside of these 9 rune pages. Of course, I've like won games here or there with like weird rune pages, but over time, these 9 rune pages are the ones that I've had the most success with. So, your rune pages for Singed are going to be divided into 2 major categories. You have your movement speed pages and your non-movement speed pages. Um, and basically, movement speed and non-movement speed pages means is that movement speed pages are going to have movement speed quintessences, and non-movement speed pages are not going to have movement speed quintessences. As a champion, Singed can make good use of movement speed quintessences because he is a melee champion with no gap closers. Is prone to getting kited. He needs to run around a lot. So yeah, movement speed kind of natural, but there are rune pages that work without movement speed, and sometimes they can even be better, which is why I'm going to explain it in this rune page guide. So you have 2 major types, two major categories: movement speed and non-movement speed pages, and these both have subcategories. Movement speed pages, the category of movement speed page is divided into 2 types. You have magic penetration mark pages and armor mark pages. So for magic penetration mark pages, this page right here, page 1, is going to be the most standard page that you can run as far as movement speed and magic penetration goes. And in general, this is going to be the most standard page that you probably can run on Singed. This page is 7.8 magic penetration, 4.5% move speed, 11 AP, and 9 armor. So you have 9 armor reds, 9 magic pen reds, 9 armor yellows, 9 AP blues, and 3 AP quintessences. So this situation is probably one of the 2 pages that are the most generic for Singed that will just kind of help like starting players get into the game. Starting players who are starting as Singed get into playing Singed. The logic behind this page is you have just kind of a little bit of damage, you have armor for the laning phase, you have magic penetration for Singe's poison trail and fling, and you have movement speed just to like generally help him out. There's nothing really special about this page. This is a page that you can kind of run into not every lane, but most lanes. You can run this page into your Rivens, you can run this page into your Irelis, you can use this against your Dariuses. It's good against your Gangplanks, your Poppies, and your potentially your Malphites, because Malphite doesn't do a whole lot of magic damage, stuff like that. But this page, you wouldn't want to run this versus someone like Lissandra. You would not run this versus someone like Vladimir. You would not run this versus someone like Swain, because you do need flat magic penetration versus those lanes, or scaling magic or scaling magic resistance. Sorry, you do need flat magic resistance versus those lanes, or scaling magic resistance with HP, which is what one of the pages that I'll discuss later. So the next magic penetration mark page with movement speed is this page. So this page has 9 magic penetration reds, 9 armor yellows, 9 magic resistance flat blues, and 3 movement speed quintessences. So the logic behind this page is pretty much the same as the last page. It's just a very basic page to help Singed mains kind of get into to help new Singed players get into the groove of playing Singed, while just kind of being a standard all-around page, except the main difference being that this page is what you would run versus a lane like Lissandra, versus a lane like Vladimir, versus a lane like Swain, just an AP-heavy damage dealer that you want to have flat magic resistance against to help you survive the laning phase. These first 2 pages are gonna be like basically the epitome of standard Singed rune pages. I personally don't like running them that much anymore, but if you are starting out as Singed, I would recommend starting with these 2 pages. So the last magic penetration mark and movement speed page that I have actually is this page right here. And this page is obviously 9 magic penetration reds, 9 health per level yellows, 9 magic resistance per level blues, 2 movement speed quintessences, and 1 ability power quint. So this is a rune page that a Singed player takes when he's a little bit more experienced as a Singed player. There's a little bit less movement speed on it. There's a lot less AP on it, but he wants to survive and outscale a laning phase versus an AP damage dealer, kind of like what page 2 is made to deal with. But this really takes advantage of a team. This page really takes advantage of a team that has a lot of magic damage. Say the enemy team has 3 to 4 big damage threats, and 2 of them are in the solo lanes. You're playing versus like a Lissandra top and a Ahri mid or something like that, and Elise jungle. This is a page that would do very well versus that, because once you start scaling up with your health and your magic resistance, these 2 stats will compound on each other with your level and make you very, very tanky to burst magic damage, which is what teams like that are really good at doing, is burst magic damage. Only 3% movement speed on this page, so basically you still have movement speed, but you're not going to have as much as if you had 4.5%, obviously, but you do have 1 AP Quint, which is 5 AP, and I want to kind of elaborate on that. With 1 AP Quint, you have 5 AP, and then you have 15 AP from the Dark Seal, which is a really good starting item from Singed. That means at level 1, you have 20 AP. If you factor in the fact that you can get 4 AP for Masteries, all of a sudden you have 24 AP at level 1. That gives you a pretty decent amount of wave clear. It gives you a little bit of extra trading damage if you get into range of somebody. And it gives basically the trading doesn't matter as much. Basically, the big thing about that is that it does give you the ability to wave clear pretty effectively at level 1. Which is something it's very important on Singed, is to be able to wave clear at level 1 and back and buy your sustaining items or your boots or your dark seals and stuff like that. So onto the armor mark page. So the pages that have armor marks and movement speed quints are actually the pages that I'm kind of messing with right now. If you follow the rune pages and stuff, that I run, or have been running on Singed lately, it's going to be this page right here. So this page is 9 armor marks, 9 health per level yellows, 9 AP blues, and 3 MS Quints. So what this page accomplishes is a few things. First, you sacrifice 0.8 armor in favor of health per level yellows, because you don't take armor yellows, you take armor reds. And then you sacrifice magic penetration in favor of armor reds. So you're sacrificing armor, or just barely any, you're not even really sacrificing armor, honestly. What you're doing here is you're sacrificing magic penetration for the sake of getting health per level. I think that this page right now is actually quite good, because with the introduction of some of the new masteries that I'm going to be talking, with the introduction of some of the new masteries that I'm going to be talking about, it's actually a lot easier for Singed to get over not having magic penetration reds. Of course, magic penetration reds are still good, but the difference with Season 7 as compared to previous seasons is that Singed has a different way to deal consistent damage through his masteries that a lot of, or actually no, that every single previous season mastery page and rune page combination didn't really give him, which is why it's you can definitely get away right now with not having magic penetration reds. I'm really enjoying this rune page. I want to talk about the health per level yellows. So the thing about health per level yellows is that it gives you scaling HP. Scaling HP will help your Courage of the Colossus mastery scale. And scaling HP also makes up for the fact that over time Singed has lost HP from his itemization. So last season, there's a few things that happened. So Rod of Ages was changed to, or Rod of Ages over time even has been changed to where it just gives less and less HP and more AP and mana, which is obviously not great for Singed, but myself, along with a lot of other Singed mains, most other Singed mains I think actually, have stopped building Rod of Ages due to the fact that it's actually a bit of a noob trap item, but I'm going to be making a video about itemization in which I'll actually talk about that, not this video. Rod of Ages has lost health. Rylai's just recently actually lost 100 health due to a stat nerf, and it lost a little bit of AP. And Righteous Glory in Season 6 actually got nerfed from 600 health down to 500. And I think way back when Leandry's also got a health nerf. What else has happened? Deadman's Plate got a health nerf. I think Randuin's... No, I don't think Randuin's got a health nerf. Just a lot of things over time, health-wise, have been nerfed for Singed. And so you can kind of mitigate that by taking health per level yellows, because his modern builds don't have... They still have a good amount of health, don't get me wrong. It's not like his modern builds are bad, but they just have less health than they used to. For however, like, that ended up working out. So, for that reason, health per level yellows can be quite good on Singed, but the problem with getting health per level yellows is that no matter what, whenever you take health per level yellows, or anything that's different from this rune page, if you take anything basically that's different from this rune page, this really standard rune page right here, you will have to sacrifice things. And I found personally that the best thing to sacrifice while still like having an optimal rune page is probably going to be the magic penetration. At least in my experience. And I've playtested this page quite a lot over multiple accounts. Not just this account, multiple accounts, multiple elos, and I found this page to be actually quite good. Okay, so the next armor mark page is going to be this page right here. And this page, I don't really have a whole lot to say about this page, except it's essentially the same as the last page, except instead of AP blues, there is scaling magic resistance blues. So what that means is you would run this versus a lane, kind of similar to the other scaling MR blue page, like a Lissandra or a Swain or a Vlad, just AP, poke, hard lane. Words are hard. Me smart. You just run this versus a lane like that to try and outscale the burst magic damage, and yeah. But just keep in mind that for this page and that other magic resistance scaling page, that you should only really do it if the enemy team has more than one consistent magic damage threat. Preferably 3 is around where I start to consider taking scaling magic resistance blues into a game. But if you're really unsure about how tanky you will be able to be versus 2 AP threats even, you can get away with taking a page like this. It'll still be okay as long as you play the lane properly. Okay, so that's all for the movement speed pages that I have, and I guess I'm going to cover the non-movement speed pages now. So non-movement speed pages also have 2 subtypes, and those 2 subtypes are AP Quints, AP Quint pages, and Armor Quint pages. So my AP Quint pages, let's talk about those first. This ability power Quint page is okay. So first, let's talk about not having movement speed runes on Singed. Over time, the game has gotten a lot more mobile, to the point where it seems like every champion has some sort of like dashing ability. Enemy champions have multiple like gap closers and stuff like that. Just the newest champion release, like Camille, I think she has like a super duper ridiculous gap closer, and she has like multiple slows. Like enemy teams have multiple slows. Basically, the idea is that over time, movement speed runes have gotten to be less effective due to the amount of mobility that enemy champions bring. So 4.5% move speed, don't get me wrong, it is very good on Singed, but say you're versus a team that is just going to be like dashing around all over the place, and you need to like versus like say an Irelia top, like a Quinn jungle or a Graves jungle, stuff like that. Ahri mid, things that just people that just have a lot of gap closers. Your movement speed runes are not gonna really make or break that, because movement speed runes are the best versus champions who have low mobility, because movement speed runes allow you to really abuse champions that have low mobility. Movement speed runes won't ever make you fast enough to outplay an Irelia dash or a Graves dash or 3 Ahri ults or an Ezreal E or a Vayne tumble Q and stuff like that. Movement speed runes are never gonna make you mobile enough to outplay, multiple gap closers, multiple CCs, multiple slows. So the best way I've found to fight against that, or one of the better ways, I should say, not the best way, one of the better ways I found to fight against that is just to take 26 flat AP at level 1 through this rune page and just try and completely dumpster your lane opponent. So this page is something that I like to run versus Irelias. I love running this page versus Rivens. I'll run this page versus things like Trundle, versus Renekton's. This page will basically allow you to have a very strong level 1 through your 9 AP blues and your 3 AP Quints. You have 26 AP at level 1, and then you have 4 extra AP from your Masteries. Then you have 15 more AP on top of that from your Dark Seal. So 26 plus 19. Hold on, I'm stupid. 1 second. You have 45 AP at level 1. That's going to be quite a lot of AP for trading at level 1. And then at level 2, it also gives you a very strong level 2 power spike with Singed Fling, Sky Auto Attack, and Poison. That's a very good combo that you can do with this build, or this rune page in particular, just due to the amount of early game power it brings. Things that this rune page won't do for you. This rune page right here is not going to make you tanky versus AP threats. And it's not gonna let you lane against ranged champions very well. This page will not let you lane versus ranged champions very well, because you don't have this page is meant to shit on melee laners basically. This page is meant to beat melee laners who want to trade with you, like your Irelias and your Rivens and your Trundles and stuff like that, and your Renekton's. However, that versus range laners, you wanna most often take the movement speed pages, because they'll let you get in and out of lane a little bit faster, and just help you avoid them basically. Obviously, if the range laner has a gap closer, it's not going to be like the greatest thing to have movement speed pages, but it's still going to be better to have a movement speed page just to help you kind of dash in and out of the creep wave and poison it and push it and stuff like that. So the next page is going to be the next AP Quint page, sorry, going to be this page. So this is basically the same as last page, except instead of AP blues, I have flat magic resistance blues. So this page is something you would run versus like very close range AP top laners. Like I would run this versus a Rumble. I would run this versus a Mordekaiser. I can't really think of any other ones off the top of my head, but Rumble and Mordekaiser are like the two big ones. That Diana, things like that. That I would run this against. So the idea is obviously that you have your flat magic resistance to counter their magic damage. You have your flat AP Quints to kind of help you trade with them early on. Versus the melee ones, this is quite a good rune page to run because it helps you be stronger in lane basically. So next, I want to talk about the more interesting rune pages in the non-movement speed category, and that's the armor quintessence category. So this page right here, this page, what you have is 9 magic penetration reds, you have 9 health per level yellows, you have 9 AP blues, you have 2 armor quintessences, and you have 1 AP quintessence. So the story behind how I kind of made this rune page is, one day I was looking at champion.gg, or no, I was looking at op.gg for Korea, and I was noticing that there was a Korean pro player whose name is MVP ADD. His name is ADD, he plays on the team MVP, and he was spamming Singed games, and I was like, that's curious. He actually is winning a lot of these in Korean Challenger. Even though he doesn't mean Singed, so I looked at the runes and masteries he was running. The masteries were really standard, but the runes were really unique. And the rune page that he was running was just this exact rune page, except instead of this AP Quint here, he had another armor Quint. So this was the MVP ADD page right here. I played with this for a while, and I thought it was okay. But I kept thinking like what I could do to just give it that little bit of extra oomph to push it over the top. Because what ended up happening with this page is you just didn't have a lot of damage in lane with only 11 AP. Generally, when you have 11 AP only at level 1 from runes, you make up for it by having movement speed. So you can like just move around faster, and that's normally the trade that you make with Singed, is having extra AP or extra movement speed at level 1. But what I ended up doing was this page right here. Oh, actually, it changed. Hold on one second. It was on this page. Okay, so I ended up doing this rune page right here. I swapped one of the armor Quints for an AP Quint, and ended up having 16 AP at level 1, which gives me less armor than the 13, but the thing about that is I have a lot stronger level 1 damage wave clear with 16 AP, and 8.5 armor is kind of, 8.5 armor from these two Quints is kind of the same principle as running armor marks, is that it's just barely less armor than if you took armor yellows. And what that means is that, well, you're sacrificing basically no armor at all for the advantage of having scaling health, and scaling health means obviously that you scale better in a mid-late game, especially with the new Courage of the Colossus mastery. So this is basically my evolution of MVP ADD's rune page. I'm not going to say that it's better, but this is just my preferred way of playing his rune page. It's just like an edit basically that I did of that rune page. I like this rune page a lot. This rune page is very good all around versus like mixed damage teams, because you have scaling health again, you have your armor, you have magic pen, you have AP, you have a lot of stats that are really good on Singed, but you don't have movement speed. I guess you don't really need movement sequence all the time on Singed. I know you don't need movement sequence all the time on Singed, but I'll talk about that more in the itemization video. The gist of it is that since you have Righteous Glory, you don't really... You can get away with not having movement sequence because Righteous Glory gives you a shit ton of engage speed, which is the main reason why a lot of people took movement sequence in the first place, is to have engage speed. But Righteous Glory kind of solves that, so yeah. I guess we'll move on to the next armor Quint page, which is this page. Essentially the exact same as the last page, except it's scaling AP blues with 1 AP Quint and 2 armor Quints. You're probably noticing the pattern with these at this point, in that you don't really need to have flat AP blues all the time. It's preferable to have flat AP blues, because flat AP blues is going to be in the majority of cases where you get your level 1 damage from. But if you're versus like, again, like an AP lane, and you want to run a non-movement speed page in order to have scaling health, this is probably going to be the best page. Well, maybe not like the best page. Okay, so the difference between this page and this page from earlier is that this page from earlier is not, it doesn't have any armor in it. So a champion that has an AP champion with a long auto attack range, like a ranged AP mage, is just going to be able to just rain auto attacks down on you, and it's still going to harass you very hard. Even though you're itemizing against their magic damage, their auto attacks will still hurt you a lot. In lower elos, this page will be better, because in lower elos, ranged AP top laners almost never auto attack to harass because they don't know what they're doing. But in higher elos versus ranged AP mages, this page is going to be better, because you do have your 8.5 armor here to mitigate the damage from their auto attacks, and then you still scale with HP and MR, and you have your magic pen for damage. The 1 AP Quint, like I said before, you combine that with a Dark Seal at level 1 that's 20, you combine that with your Masteries at level 1 that's 24 AP. So you still have a decent amount of AP at level 1, enough to wave clear, enough to fuck around with the wave with, etc., etc. So those all those pages, those 9 pages are what I think are the most not the most important pages, but the most well developed Singed Rune pages that I've found. I'm especially like I said before, I'm especially liking this armor mark page right now. Things will probably change sometime after this video goes up, because the meta shifts all the time, and especially for top lane, the meta shifts all the time, and it's just something that you need to be really aware of as a Singed player. Is whenever the meta shifts, your rune page selection will probably shift along with it, and to kind of experiment and see what works best again. I guess we'll talk about the types of rune pages that I don't run. So this page right here is one of the types of rune pages that I don't like to run. The idea behind this page is just you pretty much sacrifice your entire early game in favor of scaling magic resistance, scaling armor. The reason that I don't like this is because you will lose lane very, very hard to good players who one, look up your runes and see that you have shit for early game, and 2, know how to abuse the laning phase, because Singed is a champion that can be abused in the laning phase, even though his early game is technically good, but his laning phase is very bad. So like 5 minutes, like level 6 outside of lane, he's amazing. But level 6 inside of lane, he's very susceptible to getting all in, even with the ultimate on, stuff like that. He can still die very easily. He's still pretty fragile in the lane, because the champions that are played in top lane are generally very good at laning in comparison to Singed, who is not a very good laner, but he's meant to be more of like a team fighter. So this page, yeah, like I said, just sacrifices your entire early game basically for the sake of scaling. I don't like doing that very much, because versus good players, you will just get shafted if you run something like this. And I guess with this page, it's kind of the same principle. Yeah, actually, it's exactly the same principle. You do have your ability power early on to like kind of mitigate some of the getting shit on, but you're still gonna get shit on regardless if you're on this page, because you don't have flat armor for levels 1 through 3 or like 1 through 4. I think these actually start to outscale normal armor seals at level 9, which at that point it's too late. If you're gonna lose lane playing this rune page, which you probably will, it's gonna happen way before level 9. So that's the reason why I wouldn't recommend running a page like this with scaling armor, or a page like this also with scaling armor. But yeah, These first 9 rune pages are, I think, the absolute best ones so far that I found on Singed that work well for me. And I think that they're probably the best ones, but things change, and I'm sure like that over the course of the season, other rune pages will probably pop up that are as good or if not better than these pages, and I will end up probably making an update video to this on that, just talking about that. So masteries are a lot more simple for Singe, thankfully, especially this season. So you have 2 types of mastery pages that you're gonna run on Singed. You either have Courage of the Colossus pages or you have Deathfire Touch pages. And I'll talk about both of those in a second. But I guess I'll talk about why I never take Cunning. So the reason you would go down the Cunning tree is for the utility options. You would get Cunning for this Wanderer Mastery, you'd get it for a Secret Stash, you would get it for probably Merciless and Dangerous Game, you'd get it for Precision, which is Magic Penetration, and then you'd get it for Thunderlord's Decree, which is just damage. Yeah, Singe can proc this instantly with his poison or with his poison fling combo, because you get 2 ticks from poison and you get 1 tick from fling, instant Thunderlord's proc, but it's just not very good for the trade-off, because whenever you don't take 18 points in resolve, you have to understand that you're giving up swiftness, which is tenacity and slow resist for Singed, which is very, very, very important for Singed, and you're also giving up obviously Curse of Colossus, which is a very good keystone, compared to Strength of the Ages ever was. And the logic is, well, the best masteries for the Swiftness tree are right in these first 2. It's Wanderer and Secret Stash. And with the new builds that are popping up for Singed and the new Ferocity masteries, I would personally never ever go put any points into the middle tree. Especially at this point, in Singe's evolution for season 7. It's just not worth it. If you're gonna run damage, you're gonna run a Deathfire Touch build. Or a Deathfire Touch mastery page. Because that's the most efficient way to have a damage mastery on him. Especially compared to like Thunderlords or Storm Raider Surge. Singe can't proc Storm Raider Surge reliably unless he's very fed. You will never be able to, like, this mastery on paper seems like it'd be really great for Singe because you get movement speed and slow resistance for 3 seconds, which is quite a bit, but he can't do it reliably. If you have that much damage on Singed, you're gonna get blown up. You need a certain amount of tankiness, especially versus good players, because a good team will just recognize that, hey, that Singe has way too much AP, we can just blow him up whenever he comes near us, and they'll just do that. So the best, I guess not the best, but one of the good rune pages, or sorry, mastery pages, this is the one that I've been running personally a lot this season, is this Courage of the Colossus page. And so I guess we'll just go mastery on mastery. 12-0-18. It has 2 points or 5 points in sorcery for increased ability damage. Then I take Feast for the sustain. You can take Exposed Weakness. This Exposed Weakness mastery is good if you're versus like a very easy lane where you don't need sustain. Take Exposed Weakness because Rallies is a lot cheaper. Sorry, no, not Rallies is a lot cheaper, but I was thinking about the older Presser mastery. This mastery is still very good in the same situation. You take this mastery, Exposed Weakness, when you are versus a very easy lane like a Malphite, where you know you're not going to get harassed versus, not going to get harassed that much versus him, and you don't need the sustain from Feast. And basically with Singed, you can easily spread your poison trail over 5 people and make each of those people take 3% more damage each from your allies, and that can be very helpful in a lot of situations. I have played around with Fresh Blood. It's decent, but I don't think that this Fresh Blood mastery is going to be worth losing the sustain from Feast. For lane Singe, I think that this can be very good, but it would need to be a little bit stronger, I think, or Feast would need to be a little bit weaker. Right now, everyone and their mother is taking Feast because this mastery for early levels, it helps you sustain, and that's like, sustain is king in the early levels, honestly. This mastery does not scale very well at all, though. Exposed Weakness does scale very well, but Feast doesn't. But Feast will help to get you through early game, which is going to be, or early lane, which is going to be Singe's biggest weak point, is his early laning phase. So I take 5 points of natural talent. This gives you 4 AP at level 1. Just a little bit of extra oomph for your early game. Uh, I don't I don't like taking vampirism, and the reason I don't like taking vampirism is because you just you just never really notice the sustain from this, because dot damage inherently gives you less. It gives you 33% effectiveness from spell vamp, and Singe doesn't auto attack enough to make the lifesteal worth it ever. So having that small amount of spell vamp, it's not going to heal you for that much over time. Like, maybe you could do like this thing where a lot of people, they put 1 point in vampirism for just a little tiny bit of sustain, and they put 4 points natural talent. But honestly, like, I don't oh I don't ever feel like taking vampirism is going to be a good choice. Especially now that there's the triple dark seal build, which gives you a lot of sustain from your corrupting potion. I don't see the pros of taking this mastery, honestly, ever, compared to having 4 extra AP at level 1, just having a little bit of extra power. So this mastery right here, this mastery is called Battle Trance, and this is one of my favorite things about the mastery page this season so far. What Battle Trance does is just what it says. You gain up to 5% increased damage over 5 seconds when in combat with enemy champions. For a lot of champions, that's not easy to stay in combat for 5 seconds. However, for Singed, it is very easy for him to stay in combat for 5 seconds. Singed can just get in, start poisoning people with his ult on, and 9 times out of 10 he will survive for more than 5 seconds. Start getting a lot of damage going from his Battle Trance mastery. And yeah, it's just like basically like a mastery that's kind of made for it almost seems like it's made for Singed, but I'm sure that it wasn't, because Riot doesn't give a fuck about Singed. But this compared to Double-Edged Sword, you don't ever want to take 2.5% additional damage as a tank. Don't take this as a tank. It defeats the purpose of you being a tank. And Bounty Hunter, you're not really going to be able to make good use of this mastery, because you're not going to kill every person on the enemy team like an assassin would or like an AD carry would. You're not going to get a lot of kills compared to champions who take Bounty Hunter. You're going to get a lot more assists, but this does nothing for assists, obviously. Battle Trance is also part of what I was talking about earlier. That Battle Trance also allows for some of these rune pages where Singe can finally let go of magic penetration reds, and take Battle Trance, and you will notice the drop off. You will notice the lack of magic pen a lot less, because this mastery gives you a decent amount of damage to work with. So onto the resolve tree. This recovery versus unyielding. You can do either or. I take recovery versus really like harass heavy lanes, like or lanes like that fight a lot. I'll take recovery versus people like Riven. I'll take recovery versus people like Lysandra. I'll take recovery versus basically just anyone who wants to really get up in your face and kind of dominate the laning phase and try and just kill you over and over and over. So recovery is good versus lanes like Riven and Pantheon and Rumble and stuff like that, who just want to be up in your face, just trying to fight you all the time. Unyielding, I will take unyielding versus lanes like Poppy versus lanes like Malphite versus lanes like Nautilus, like Maokai, like people like characters like that who they do want to fight you, but they don't want to fight you as much, and when they do fight you, they don't do as much damage as like your Rivens and your stuff like that. Because this lets you scale in a late game in terms of your resistances, unyielding, and recovery lets you survive the early game. So on to the next tier, we have Tough Skin. Tough Skin is just pretty much the standard laning mastery that you take when you're in lane. On every character that goes Resolve Tree, 2 less damage from champion and neutral monster basic attacks. It lets you maybe take a Krug a little bit more safely. Nothing really too exciting about this mastery. So let's talk about Explorer. So Explorer, you can take Explorer in situations that are similar to when you would take Unyielding, when you want to scale in a late game and you're not going to like get completely shit on in lane by trades. So you would take Explorer versus a champion that you know is not going to try and exploit you not having Tough Skin, that they're not going to auto attack you a lot. You take Explorer and it lets you get behind the tower a lot quicker, especially with movement speed Quints, and it lets you proxy more effectively, lets you run through the jungle more effectively. you get a lot of value out of this mastery as the game goes on, but it does make your laning phase noticeably weaker if you get all in by auto attacks. So I wouldn't take this versus people like Yasuo, but you can take this versus people like, again, like Poppy, like Malphite, Maokai, even like a Pantheon, because Pantheon doesn't really auto attack that much. He just spams Qs on you. But yeah, let's talk about Siege Master. I haven't really found a situation this season where Siege Master is a good mastery outside of ARAM, and honestly, no one is gonna make a Runepage guide about ARAM and be serious about it. So, sorry, mastery page guide about ARAM and be serious about it. I just maybe on other top lane champions that get pushed in, like your Jaxes or your Malphites, characters like that will probably enjoy Siege Master a lot more than Singed does. But ideally on Singed, you don't really want to be stuck under your tower. On Singed, your ideal situation is pushing the enemy to their tower and then going around for a proxy and then roaming and looking for roam kills, or like pushing up on the enemy and like poking their tower down and just being annoying and being aggressive and stuff like that. So even if you would need Siege Master, like, and I doubt that you would ever, because if you're stuck against your tower, you can just skip a wave and go proxy. Even if you do need Siege Master, even then it's probably going to be a better choice to take one of these two masteries, honestly. Because if you're under your tower, you're probably getting harassed, and if you're getting harassed, then Tough Skin's probably going to be a little bit better. Okay, so let's go on to the next mastery here, and that's going to be Runic Armor versus Veteran Scars. So Runic Armor, I take this mastery all the time. It synergizes with Singed Ultimate. It synergizes with the Dark Seals. It synergizes with Corrupting Potion. It synergizes with Courage of the Colossus. It's a very good Singed mastery because it synergizes with a lot of the stuff that's important to him, which is health, shields, and health regen. Or sorry, just shields and health regen, actually, not just pure health, but shields and health regen. So those stats are good, or those things are good for Singed, and this is good for those things. So Runic Armor ends up being good. The regen, it does help you with the regen. 8% extra regen from Runic Armor means that the healing from your Corrupting Potion is going to be a little bit higher. It also means that you're going to get more healing out of the Catalyst. So the idea with Catalyst is that whenever you have it running from Singe's Poison Chill, if you just leave it on, you gain back 3 HP per second because you're burning 13 mana per second. However, if you have Runic Armor, you gain back 3.24 HP per second. So basically every 4 seconds you're getting back 1 extra AP compared to if you did not have this mastery. Doesn't seem like a lot, but over time, yeah, sure, it adds up. Now compare this mastery to Veteran Scars. I almost never take Veteran Scars personally. I take Veteran Scars versus Irelia because having 4 points in Veteran Scars basically negates one of her true damage auto attacks. And then sometimes I take this versus, like, I know if it's a good Riven player who will always try to all in you. Veteran Scars is good because it just gives you a little bit of, maybe that little bit of extra edge that you need to survive an all in. Generally the rule is that flat health will beat an all in, but regen will beat poke. So yeah, just things to consider when you're choosing between these two masteries right here. Runic Armor is, in general, in almost all cases, going to be better, unless you're versus a lane where you think you'll get all in. And if you think you'll get all in, take Veteran Scars. So let's talk about the next tier. We have Insight versus Perseverance versus Fearless. So I guess as far as Perseverance goes, now with the introduction of Fearless, I almost never take Perseverance, but I used to take Perseverance whenever I was versus like a fucking nightmare lane, like a Kale or Teemo or a Gnar, stuff like that, where it really needed the health regen to help survive. But the thing about Perseverance is the Perseverance counts on you being low HP, and if you're in low HP, you're probably kill range for their burst anyways. But like I used to just take this because I needed health regen versus a lane where there's nothing better to take. So Insight is still quite good. Insight reduces the cooldown of your already low Ghost cooldown and reduces the cooldown of your teleport significantly. And I think that can still be good, but honestly, in the past, both of these two masteries in this tree, like, it wasn't a very good choice. You just kind of like picked one or the other, and you're kind of just like mad about it. You're like, okay, well, I guess I'll take Insight this game, or I guess I need Perseverance this game. They're decent, but they're not great. So compare that to the Fearless Mastery. So this new mastery right here, it's on a 9-second cooldown, and what it does is whenever you're hit, you gain 10% plus 2 per level bonus armor and magic resistance when you're damaged by an enemy champion for 2 seconds. So every 9 seconds, if you're in combat constantly for the next 2 seconds, you gain 10% of your bonus armor and MR plus 2 per level. And essentially, like, what that means is in lane, if you're trading like constantly in between, like during a creep wave or in between creep waves, if you manage to solve those trades out to be in between 9-second windows, then you're going to be making a really good use of this mastery, and you're just going to be very, very deceptively tanky. Like, people don't notice just how tanky you actually do get from this mastery, but this mastery does give you a lot of tankiness in short skirmishes like that. So, in addition to that, what you're going to get in a team fight, however, is a large amount of magic resistance or a large amount of resistances at the beginning of a team fight while you have your Courage of the Colossus shield going. So, essentially, say you run into a team fight as Singed, and you pop your Courage of the Colossus, and right while that shield is on top of you, you're going to be making use of Fearless, which is giving you bonus armor and MR, to make that shield burn down a little bit slower. Or if you already use your Courage of the Colossus and it's 9 seconds after that, then you're going to still be mitigating a lot of damage from 5 people, because you're assuming you're going to be in the middle of a fight and they're going to be all hitting you. This is just a very good tank mastery overall compared to Insight and Perseverance. So let's talk about the next tree. Not a lot, or the next tier, I guess. There's not a lot to talk about in this next tier. I do not think that Legendary Guardian will ever be a good Singed mastery. Plus 3 armor and MR for each nearby enemy champion. Just puke. The only, or not the only reason, but one of the 2 major reasons to go down this tree is the Swiftness mastery, the other being Courage of the Colossus. But the Swiftness mastery is very, very important on Singed, because the Swiftness mastery means that you have 15% tenacity and slow resistance. Singed is very, very susceptible to being kited by slows and CC, so having the Swiftness mastery helps mitigate that quite a bit, and it's very noticeable if you ever run a mastery page like a DFT page where you don't have Swiftness, the Swiftness mastery, you will notice the difference almost immediately upon getting CC'd of just how much of a difference 15% tenacity and slow resistance can make for Singed. Obviously, Keystone, I never take Grasp of the Undying on Singed. It doesn't do shit for him late game because you don't auto attack late game, and all it does is like it maybe lets you like trade a little bit better in lane versus characters that also have Grasp of the Undying. But honestly, this Grasp of the Undying master was never ever made for characters like Singed. Grasp of the Undying was made for bruisers who want to like be in an extended split pushing situation. Like Grasp of the Undying is something you take on like a Trundle or something like that. Grasp of the Undying was never meant for characters like Singed. Same thing with Bond of Stone is meant to be more of a support mastery. I used to take Bond of Stone versus like Nightmare lanes like Gnar and Teemo and Kale and stuff like that, because the 4% damage reduction would help me lane. But honestly, you don't really need this mastery anymore, Bond of Stone, because of the Fearless mastery also like basically doing what Bond of Stone I used to use Bond of Stone for. I didn't ever use Bond of Stone for the allied damage reduction. I just used it to get through Nightmare lanes as Singed. Let's talk about this new Keystone mastery that replaced Strength of the Ages, which is what I used to take on Singed. So Courage of the Colossus, this mastery is like a Singed wet dream. Having a shield when you run into a team fight and fling someone is it's such like it's like a dream mastery basically. It's so good. Even though they nerfed it, it's still pretty good for Singed, because just the nature that Singed works in is that he likes to run into a team fight and try and get a fling on a good target, or he likes to sit back and peel big damage threats off of his backline with fling. And either way, if you do either of those things, you're going to start taking a lot of damage from the damage that you just peeled, or from the entire enemy team turning and focusing on you. And when that happens, having this Courage of the Colossus shield after your fling is just it's so nice. This mastery is so much better than Strength of the Ages ever was. Strength of the Ages took forever for Singed to stack. and it only gave him 300 HP in the end. The only reason that I ever was taking Strength of the Ages was because there was nothing better for mastery wise than Singed. Like there was just nothing good. You just took it because there was nothing else that was good. There was no viable option. But Courage of the Colossus is that viable option that Singed did not have for all of season 6. Courage of the Colossus is such a good Singed mastery. It's not even like that good. It just feels weird to have like an option that works for Singed. That feels like this feels like you finally have a Keystone on Singed. It doesn't feel anymore like you're just kind of taking masteries for the sake of like, oh well, I might as well take this. There's nothing better. These season 7 masteries, it finally feels like for Singed anyways that you have like a meaningful choice in your masteries that you know will have an impact in your game, and you're not just taking them because, oh well, I might as well just take this. You know, like it actually feels pretty good. So let's talk about the DFT page, I guess, to close out this video. Personally, I find the Swiftness Mastery and Courage of the Colossus, the combination of these two things, especially now that there's Courage of the Colossus, to be too good on Singed to give up in most situations. However, if somehow you find yourself in a situation where your team doesn't have any major AP damage, and the enemy team just happens to not have a lot of CC at all, and it just so happens that you can itemize in a way that you don't need the Courage of the Colossus shield, well then, this is probably a good mastery page to run. So the logic behind these 4 Resolve Tree masteries is essentially the same, and the logic behind all of this, these 4 first Ferocity Tree masteries are the same. Obviously, you're going to take Piercing Thoughts for 7% magic penetration. You don't want the Armor Penetration mastery on Singed. If you need me to explain that to you, you probably shouldn't be watching League of Legends videos, and you probably should be like going to kindergarten instead. So Deathfire Touch. Let's talk about Deathfire Touch. I don't think this mastery is very good on Singed. Yeah, it can be good, but Singed with ideal modern builds, you never really have enough AP to make good use of this mastery. Like champions that make good use of this mastery are champions like Cassiopeia and Malzahar, who stack a shit ton of AP and use that with their dot damages that are inherently more powerful than Singe's Poison Trail. But you also have champions like Jhin, who get a lot of AD, and this has a very big AD ratio, who would use it to bolster their spell casting, because Jhin is mostly a spellcaster, with big nuking auto attacks, and he just uses this to bolster that, because he doesn't have attack speed to make use of Warlords or Fervor. But I'm getting off topic. Basically, the biggest drawback of taking Deathfire Touch is that you don't have Swiftness and you don't have Courage of the Colossus Masteries from Resolve, and ideal Singed builds will not have enough ability power to make use of Deathfire Touch because it scales off of flat ability power. Deathfire Touch does not take into account if you have Leandries, it does not take into account if you have Rallies, it doesn't take into account what your item passes are, it just takes into account just how much AP you have. And for that reason, Singed generally will not have enough AP to make good use of this mastery. But if you really do need to just do as much damage as possible, this is the mastery to take. I would not recommend taking Thunderlords for reasons that I stated before. So yeah, that about wraps up this Rune Page and Mastery Page guide. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I really appreciate a thumbs up on this video. It really helps me out a lot in terms of like growing the channel. And yeah, I'll try and get to every question that I can in the comments, and I hope you guys enjoy this video. Thanks for watching.